the beans like we used to do. Pass the beans. Pass the beans like we used to do. Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans. The Beans Talk.
Hey, Bean fam, we are back at you with another episode of the Beans Talk podcast.
Woo.
Yeah. And we are four educators of color bringing you raw, authentic conversation about society views and community engagement. Everybody, I'm Fabs.
I'm Steph. What's up, guys?
What up, fam? It's Ro.
Good morning. This is TJ.
Yeah. So, another episode. We're going to go ahead and dive right on into it with the do now, which I have. Jodzia.
Okay, with the Creole.
Oi.
Okay.
About what? I'm trilingual. Man.
Okay, cut it out. Cut
You
it
ain't
out,
ready?
cut it out.
You ain't ready? But yeah, here's a do now. And I think this is kind of in light of what we're going to be talking about a bit today. But think of a Black female artist and a favorite song from this Black female artist. I can start.
I already have mine.
Okay,
we
go
know.
ahead. Steph
I know who it is. I know who it is. Go, go,
Steph
go, go,
goes.
go, go,
Steph,
go.
you can go first.
Okay, so of course it's Aaliyah. And my favorite song is At Your Best. Her version of it, because I knew Isley Brothers is the originator.
I didn't know that, babe.
Yeah, they are.
I know that.
Yeah, she
Why
did
you choose that song of all the songs to choose from?
I choose that song. One, is very beautiful, and I just love the words, and I think it was very foundational for me and Fabiola's relationship. It's something I always like sing to her, and it's always a song I've just really loved. In particular, the words, the meanings. It really embraces embracing somebody for their flaws, and still like loving them anyway. It's really a song about unconditional love.
I love
Because I'm a
that.
sap.
I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I can't think of my song.
Anybody?
I'm going to go with SZA. You know I love SZA. And I'm going to go with the song Love Galore. I like the title. I love that word galore. It means an abundance of. I mean, it's like, like,
Galore.
yeah, galore.
With other
Just-
people's men.
I mean, no, that song isn't what it's about.
I mean,
It's like- a lot of her songs are about being a side chick, but in this particular song, she's just talking about like how, she's a sucker for love and that she has to sometimes skirt men because they aren't acting correctly. But at the end of the day, she's a sucker for it. She falls for it every time. So
You're such a romantic, TJ.
I have it in me.
No, you don't.
Some days.
Yeah, some
Interesting.
days. Some days.
I'd like to see it one day.
Yeah, you'll see it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you'll experience it.
Okay.
firsthand.
Don't make me vomit.
Whoa there.
You got one, Ro?
I do. Mine is definitely Sade's Sweetest Taboo.
Okay.
If I tell you how I feel, would you keep on loving me, man?
You guys are so
we have a lot of
romantics.
love going
That's
on
so
here.
nice. Mine is not.
Ratchet shit.
It's actually not. Lauryn Hill, love her. Freedom Time. Have you guys ever heard it? Especially live.
Yeah.
Yo. I think it's so dope. But I'm just gonna go ahead and read a little bit off of that. But it says
That raspiness in there too.
yeah. Oh my God. Yo, her singing. I honestly, I just get engulfed.
She late though, but she can sing.
She is,
Always.
bruh.
Always.
We didn't even have seats to her concert one time, and my feet were hurting. Like I was standing for hours
I believe
until she came out. But when she came out, she put on a show.
That's El Boogie for
I
that.
hate
Can't be
that.
mad.
I don't know if I would like that.
There's a sense of entitlement there. But she's a queen.
And
though, so.
inconsiderate to her fans. I don't like that.
I wonder what it could be, and this could kind of tie into the lyrics, but I wonder if it's like, I'm an artist type of thing, and I'm in here for entertainment, but I'm not like your clown. And so she like tries to own that and own her time. So she's not just going to come out on everybody else's time. She's going to come out on her time.
You're coming on everyone else's dime, though.
That's facts. I'm not going to lie, because that did cost money. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie. But really quickly, like one of the things that she says is like, said it's freedom time, y'all. There's a war in the mind for the territory over dominion, who will dominate opinions, schisms, and isms, keeping us in forms of religion, conforming our vision to the world's church's decision, trapped in a section, submitted to committee elections, moral infection, epidemic lies, and deception. I could go on and on. I could honestly read the entire thing, but I will not. Y'all go ahead and check out Lauryn Hill's Freedom Time.
That album.
That I could listen to.
Is that from
repeat.
the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill or a different album?
No, I don't think so.
It's. I think it's Unplugged.
It is the Unplugged album.
Yeah, it's the Unplugged album.
That's the one. But
that completely encompasses
Powerful.
like all of us. All of us talked about love, and then you got Fabiola talking about
freeing the mind.
Yeah,
Just
I think that
uncaging ourselves.
encompasses the whole thing.
That mental cage, trying to break free. Just
That album.
recognizing that whole thing. That joint. I might listen to that later on today.
Do.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel free right now. I'm on break and stuff like that and before returning back to class, and it's been good. It's been freeing, but shout out to those Black female artists. We should probably consider Black artists inside of Boston one time.
We
and try
should.
to like shout them out.
We
Give them a
definitely
little-
should.
there's
We
some-
got 'em.
Yeah, we do. Actually, they on the come up.
Jadea, that reggae artist.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking more underground. But yeah,
He's from Boston.
I didn't know that.
underground. Shout out to underground. But anyway, shout out to the Black female artists out there really putting out some dope words.
Y'all are, man.
Words of love, words of cheating, infidelity, according to Terrence's
I was like,
song lyrics.
I never said something about cheating and infidelity.
Isn't that what
I said most
SZA
of
was
her
all
songs.
about? Or about being
Some
a
of
side
them-
and owning side chickism,
Side chickism.
I don't know if I like that term.
Everybody
snatching
lives the way that they want to live, and we
Amen.
shall celebrate them as they wish to celebrate their own lives. But at any rate, we are going to go ahead and jump into the next segment, and Steph's about to control this joint.
Yes, it's book club, and we're about to ride this same wave about Black girl magic and have, I think, a very enlightening discussion. And I'm really excited about this book club because it's going to be divided into two parts, y'all. So this first part is really diving deep into Monique Morris's Pushout book and film. The entire title is Pushout: The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools, and we'll be sure to link that
Please.
here so you guys can see where you can get that on Amazon and read. It was very good. In Boston, they were doing, or they have been doing, several film screenings, and there's a short documentary to pair with this book as well.
Yes, there
and
is.
so I know Fabs and I went to the first screening that happened last
A few
month.
weeks. Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, 2
Right,
months
it was a
3
ago.
to 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. And that one had Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley on the panel and had a bunch of other pivotal educators and leaders in Massachusetts and other states who came in to join the discussion.
That's dope.
And then I know Ro and TJ, you all recently went to another screening of the film as well.
Yeah.
So I chose this work because I, just think it's very important for us to just give some space to Black women and Black girls in general and talk about this, especially given our platform in education. And so for people who have not heard about the book or the film, I just want to summarize a bit about what the text itself is about. So Pushout: The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools is a feature-length documentary and book that takes a deep dive into the lives of Black girls and the practices, cultural beliefs, and policies that disrupts one of the most important factors in girls' lives, their education. The documentary and book underscores the challenges that Black girls face with insight from experts across the country who have worked extensively in the fields of social justice, gender equality, and educational equity. And these experts give context to the crisis and provide a roadmap for how our educational system and those who interact with Black girls can provide a positive rather than punitive response to behaviors that are often misunderstood or misrepresented inside this group. This documentary and book also focuses on conditions and practices that Black girls face, emphasizing first-person narratives from girls ages 7 to 19, and they describe navigating a society that often marginalizes and dismisses them. And so that's kind of just an overview of what Monique Morris is bringing to the forefront
Yes, ma'am.
in both the film and the book. And again, as I mentioned, this conversation is going to be divided into two parts. So the first part, I really want to just dissect the work itself. If you read excerpts from the book or the film screening that we saw, just really talking about that. So the first question that I have is around a statistic that was highlighted inside the film. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, 7% of the 4 million teachers in the United States are Black, while Black girls make up 16% of the student population. How could the deficit of Black female teachers be a contributing factor in how Black girls are perceived and treated in school?
Damn.
Yeah.
Read that question again.
Okay. I'm just going to read the last part. Okay. How could the deficit of Black female teachers be a contributing factor in how Black girls are perceived and treated in school? So this is pretty much pointing out that we have a large population of Black girls inside of our schools, but we don't have a lot of Black women teachers educating them. So how do you think that this is playing a role inside of the criminalization of Black girls?
I personally am just thinking back to like one of our episodes and how we were basically explaining how representation matters. And I think this plays a really large part inside of this discussion today, where it's like, and even in our last episode of the Beanstalk, and how a lot of times if someone is not understanding or even lived the experience and through those shoes, is really difficult for other people to empathize with your situation, who you are as a person. There are a lot of stereotypical things that are out there, and it's attached to Black women, Black girls, and then it's often stigmatized or it's seen in a negative light. And so as a result, a lot of young Black girls get treated differently inside of these systems, and in particular school systems, which I think is like huge because kids spend majority of their life inside of school, and so being treated like this inside of a space where they spend most of their life. It definitely plays a large part in the fact that if there is not that representation, that means there's not a true understanding of these young Black girls inside of these spaces. And so they're already being judged. And in the long run, I feel like this also came up inside of a conversation. There's a certain way that you need to act and, in coordinate yourself, and you have to move a particular way so that you're not seen as this like angry Black woman or ghetto or something like that, because you want to be culturally expressive.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we have said this before, but having diverse teachers and teachers that look like the students they are teaching, it does breed a certain level of understanding and compassion and empathy, and that's really important. One of the quotes I remember seeing in the Pushout documentary is one of the people being interviewed, I forgot who, but they were saying something about like teachers saying that they were afraid of Black girls, and that that's a comment, like that's a sentiment that's often express about teachers being afraid of the kids that they're teaching, Black girls in particular. And I think that some of that can be alleviated if just having a level of understanding from the teacher that just innately comes from experiencing what they've experienced and being a part of that identity.
And what's interesting about that part that you pointed out is that the young girl laughed at the fact that this really stuck out to me about how she found that to be so silly for an adult to find a child that's just acting the way that she decides to act, and you're afraid.
A threat.
And as if she is a threat, which is very funny. And she scoffed at it. She laughed, but it was more like a scoff, like silly teacher.
Again, this conversation is always going to be around, but I think it's so important for our babies to have people who understand their experience. Man.
Absolutely.
Like it's so important. And our little girls in these schools, man, if they had somebody who really like felt them, like I think the numbers you threw out, Steph, Black girls make up 16%.
Yeah.
But yet female teachers of color only make up 7%.
Yep.
7. Yep.
Like that.
That's a problem.
It doesn't.
4 million. 7% of the 4 million.
That's a
teachers.
really large number. Just so people are very, like, if you're comparing the number to the percentage, that's a very large number of students and a lot less, of women of color inside of.
We need
Side
more
education.
of it, man. We our little girls need it, because if you can have that one teacher who can understand like why it is that you are so rambunctious, and it's not you being ghetto, urban. This is just how I talk.
Yeah.
And if you can have that teacher who understands that and like feels you on it, you will feel more understood. You will feel more safe, because the thing is, I feel like our little girls don't feel safe in a place where they spend the majority of their time.
I feel like Black women educators will find the magic and the beauty in that. I feel like while we were sitting in the audience watching the film, when they were culturally, quote unquote, expressive, it was like, for us, it was humorous and we thought it was cute and it was like, ha ha. But let's say if it was in the classroom, then it would have been another story. Like, whoa,
it's a disruption.
Like, that's a lot. Like, a lot of energy. Like, calm down a bit. Like, tone it down, okay, honey. Like, there's a lot of energy going on there.
No, go ahead.
I often think about when I hear statistics like that, as far as teacher to student ratios and teachers of color. I think about how many teachers are how many Black teachers are applying to be or like trying to be a teacher,
and it's very low. Like
it's very low.
There's especially in Massachusetts. I know Massachusetts data the best because
you work with it.
Yeah, because I work with it a lot. But there is a projection that the number of diverse educators even applying or going into education is declining.
Absolutely.
So like the supply and demand is not even keeping up.
So
there's less diverse educators choosing education, period.
And that makes me think of like a bigger conversation. Like I was in a teacher preparation program where it was like a bunch of people who were trying to get their certifications to be a teacher. There was a handful of people of color, both men and women of color. And it just, when we have these conversations and when these issues are brought to light, it makes me think of what is the bigger implications of like, why aren't there people applying to these jobs, and why? Like, that's just,
it's just a whole like bigger like flaws inside the system at large. And another thing that I want to plug when we're talking about like teacher diversification, which I think sometimes gets lost in the conversation, is that even though I am like a Black woman and I grew up in a certain way, I don't equate me just being a Black woman as having the same experience as another. I think I'll have more insight into what it means to be Black and operating as a woman, which could be some connection, but I want to at least highlight or debunk this narrative that all Black people have the same experience, because we don't
at all.
And it really takes, I think we need to be getting diverse, healed educators in front of kids.
Continue.
And what I mean by healed is like when you haven't dealt with your own trauma, you grow up and you still hold that trauma and you bring that to the classroom no matter what race you are.
Triggers.
So there are definitely times when I'm seeing homegirl snap her neck and then I am thinking about those biased images inside of media like, oh no, you need to check your attitude. And now we get this kind of like power dynamic or power struggle going back and forth because I feel like I need to defend my position as like a superior Black woman with this young Black girl, and you get inside this different kind of power struggle. No, it's not this conversation of me being afraid of you, but I'm not communicating with you in a healthy way for your growth and development from my own sources of things that I haven't recognized and dealt with. So it's more than just getting like educators of color in front of kids. We need to get healed educators in front of kids, or at least people who are aware that they need to do some healing and are doing that reflection as well, to be able to pass that on to generations, because you could be a person of color and still look at that young Black girl through the eyes of a biased lens. Period.
I think it's dope that you really point that out, stuff. I really do, because it just makes me think back to the time when I was volunteering in Newark and I was a tutor. And of a
I
young,
tell you what,
she gave me a little was a hemorrhage right here in my eye.
she
I
made
was so
Fabiola so
frustrated one
mad
time.
that this girl
Oh my God.
made her pop a blood vessel in her eye because she
I
was so upset.
heated one day. I was like, oh my God. Her attitude, man, it was on another level. Granted, a student. She was so smart though. She was brilliant. She really was. And I just felt like there was just so much potential in her, and I grew so frustrated because it was like, I don't know whether or not she's really recognizing her potential or not. I'm trying to like highlight them for her. I'm trying to, coach her, mentor her, and talk to her. But there was a lot that she was dealing with that I didn't experience. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's just that dynamic as well. Like you were just saying, like everybody doesn't go through the same exact experiences.
Being Black is not just enough.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's really not. There's a lot more to everybody's story, and being able to, like, this right here helped me recognize, this film helped me recognize like my own faults in actually handling those situations with a young girl that had gone through a lot, and I failed to take the time to understand her own story and then find a way to approach the best way to communicate with her so that she is receiving the message that I wanted her to get. You know what I mean? And I think it wasn't until the end of the year that I started to feel like maybe I can communicate with her through music or something like that. That way it's a little bit different. She can do it on her own time. That's just an aside. But, it's just like finding ways to help her heal and work through her particular experience. It took me some time, and it wasn't even until this moment where I was like, wow, I definitely like approached that in a different way because of what my expectations of a young Black girl should be.
Which was constructed
was constructed at the same time.
When you say that, there was a young girl inside the film. Her name was Emma, and she said this. She said, you have the right to be Black, and you've got the right to be a female. So you got to believe in yourself. If no one else believes in you, you better be like your biggest fan. Be your number one biggest fan. Believe you're going to get somewhere. Believe that you're going to do it. And in this particular interview, Emma places this emphasis on the word right to be Black and female. What do you think this tells us about Emma's experience and maybe other young Black girls as an individual and observer of the treatment of Black girls? Like, why do you think there's this emphasis that we have a right to be like Black and female?
Because, that makes me think that like the right, to me, it makes me think that she has experienced, like when she has lived in that truth, she's been told not to, or that she's been shamed for it by being her authentic self. And so she's basically, to me, it's saying that like she has the right, like it's okay to own that part of herself and to live in her own truth and be her authentic self, and she shouldn't be ashamed of that. It makes me think of another quote from the film, and not to just I still want to keep on
we should keep it open.
But there's a quote in the film where one of the people being interviewed said that it was talking about Black females and saying that resilience is our gift and our curse. It's like this idea that like Black females are known to be strong, like they have this perception of being strong and have this like shield of armor, and that they're like that's a good thing, but at the same time it's a curse because people act like they don't need the support, or they don't like, oh, like
she'll be all right.
She's strong, she'll be okay. It kind of relates back to what the quote that Steph brought up about having the right to, it's like having the right to own being a Black girl, but also the right to also own the vulnerable part of that identity too.
Wow,
that's deep. They talked a lot about the adultification of Black girls from a very young age, like them having to step up into roles and do things a lot sooner than other kids in their same age bracket. And so our minds just automatically tend to think that we're looking at somebody a lot older than what's in front of us because of these adultification tendencies that happen.
Yes. And in the movie, the young girl who had left school, she was like 7 years old. I want to say her name was like Samaya. I might be wrong. But she left school and like she walked into the Walmart and they were like, she's by herself. And then nobody made a big deal out of it because they thought she was 12. Mind you, a 7-year-old girl wandering. Even then. But they were like, oh, how old does she look? I remember the woman said they had called the police and the police officer said, how old does she look? Oh, she's like probably 12. Okay, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Why is it that this young black girl, even if she was 12, but why do we automatically think Mademoiselle Gramoun? Like we think she's grown and it's okay for her to be lost wandering by herself.
At 12 though, like 12 is still not even like a validated age.
Not,
like she could just be wandering Walmart on a school day. Like in the morning. Like that's a problem to me. I think they said they did note that like statistically black girls tend to go through puberty earlier than other ethnicities and whatnot. But at the same time, like even if you're going to say that she's 12, like I don't think the fact that she's 12 was the reason why that didn't raise a red flag. I feel like I personally believe that if this was a young white 12-year-old looking girl, you would have actually stepped in like, hey honey, what are you doing here on this school day? Like, why aren't you at school right now
by yourself?
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Just roaming the streets. I would have flipped. And then you didn't even the school didn't even notice that she was gone until like way
hours later. Like, that's when they contacted parents.
That's a major issue.
Hours later.
Like, do you care? You know what I mean? Like,
she's a little black girl. She grown. She all right.
Oh, that's stuff frustrating. But bringing it back to what you had mentioned, one of the things that stood out, I can't remember if it was like in the film or if it was like just one of the panelists speaking, but it says resentment for having to leave part of who she is via assimilation and as close to whiteness and deemed as being a good black girl, meaning like you have to separate yourself as being a black female and then assimilate to being more of a white female or person, and that will then deem you as a good black girl, and that means that you have to remove a lot of who you are as a result. And then you really see that in the workplace. I'm going to keep bringing that up. Like you have to ultimately see that in the workplace. And so as a young person, you're being stripped and forced into young black girl. Let me point that out. You're right. Let me make sure I point that out. A young black girl has to be forced inside of this box that's been set and made for her that isn't even for her to begin with. It's like, it's very frustrating to have to you lose pieces of yourself just to become somebody else.
This also just makes me think about how much of this is related to the intersectionality of being black and being a woman, like two categories of the identity that come along with some like marginalization and oppression in some ways. And to Fabiola's point about this sense of good girl, bad girl, and our conversation around like adultification, I'm just wondering how these two things like come together to really shape a young black girl's experience. Like how much they have to carry on their backs to make sure that they are fitting into all these different like categories and boxes, and what that does to them from like a traumatic level. Like, Ro, we were just having this conversation when you were just saying like, because as black women, we're always like just praised, and maybe you were saying this too, TJ, we always have to like have it together all the time. Like wipe your face, pick your head up. Yeah, fix your face, keep your head up. There's no time for like crying, and we hold in a lot of these struggles.
Yeah, man.
Again, back to this adultification deal. We feel like we have to have the world on our backs at all times and nurture the world. Like black women have nurtured the world.
Literally, yeah.
Literally has nurtured the world, and I feel like that role was number one forced on us when when we were brought here as slaves, and us having to like breastfeed white babies and cater to like the master and dealing with like sexualization. It's like a whole slew of things. But like us as Black women have kind of been pushed in this role as the nurturer at all times.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering about how that in itself has hindered or damaged our experiences to propel forward. You like that, don't you, TJ?
Propel. Taking it back.
Propel.
Taking it back.
Yeah,
Telling you that word.
that was last week, y'all. So check it out. What do you think? Your face.
I'm thinking about I'm thinking about a lot of things. You know, I think about adultification, you called it, and exploitation. And I get that there's history that has contributed to Black females having this like sort of burden on their backs, almost like a identity pushed upon them. But I also think Black people themselves are responsible for exploiting each other and pushing that narrative, whether consciously or unconsciously. I think about music, and I think about the media and how Black people do things that other cultures don't do, as far as pushing an image or values that are detrimental to growth and like growing as a people, as far as like pushing past these stereotypes and these like walls that like we have to be a certain type of way. And I think about that too, because it's great to bring. I think this topic is really important to bring up, but if we're not thinking about how it goes beyond just the classroom, right? Because it's like beyond just like who's in front of them as teachers. It also like goes to like, who are they seeing as like role models? What are they hearing in songs like that is essentially pushing that narrative? It's enforcing it. And that's, other cultures don't have to do, like, I don't think, Asians, for example, right? Their music isn't like about exploiting Asian females. It's not about that. It's like Black people have a responsibility to sort of transcend that too. And I don't always think that happens.
I don't know if Asian music doesn't exploit Asian females. I don't think we've heard enough Asian music to deem that, because there's a lot of like pop culture where it does like begin to exploit women. However, I definitely agree with you in the sense that there's a lot inside of media, especially music, that where there's like this other, agenda that's being pushed, and it is, painting a particular image or reinforcing this particular image for young or even just Black women, period. And I think going back to the adultification of young Black girls, it's like, you have that image, and you have young girls who seem to be going through puberty at an earlier age. So now you're starting to, and they might even act like adults because of the fact that they're getting placed inside of these positions where they have to take care of their younger siblings. They have to get up early in the morning. They have to cook. They have to do their homework at night. Maybe they might not get a chance to do that because they got to make sure they got to get everybody showered for bed and stuff like that. So you have all of those different things tying into it. And then when you have these external individuals working with these young Black girls, it's like they use these images, and then you also have the young Black girls that might be acting like adults because they're forced into a position to act like an adult, and then you're treating them in a particular way, but there's just so much more that they have to learn as individuals as they continue to grow, because they're not really actually adults. They're still kids being forced into a position of being an adult, and that's not fair, to be honest.
I would also just point out that with media circulation, the people who are in charge of the media are white.
Who is it?
So I also like... Yes, people mostly have this debate about, like hip hop and hip hop culture and like what types of lyrics are inside of songs. And I think hip hop is a type of art, and it talked a lot about the experiences of the street, and it's transformed in many ways. But again, it's an art, and And I feel like the things that get mostly elevated in media are these negative images. There's not enough paired of positive images, and the people who are who are in control of perpetuating these images are not Black people. So I just want to also just keep in mind like the power dynamics and structures that are there. The people who control the media know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's true. It really is true. I remember watching this
They're
TED
putting
Talk.
it out.
Yeah.
What are you going to debate about that?
But the artists themselves are of color, and I think if it goes back to this, like people will do anything if you show them the right amount of money to do it. I personally don't believe that these artists, they have to. If you want to talk, if you don't have to rap about money, like,
but it won't be made, it won't be published. So a lot of these artists that are going into the industry who want to do something like more positive,
like that conscious rap,
so then they're selling out. Then I mean, that's it. Yeah, they won't get the money.
It's not even that they're not.
They are, but then you won't have any artists. Like, I'm just saying, like, Black people aren't the one that is controlling. It might actually change with Tyler Perry now just being like a huge, like,
more,
Black,
exactly.
more like
Jay-Z and stuff like as they
but
start
that's
to
what he had to go through to get there.
Yeah.
But most of the media industry is owned by white people, and they're strategically putting these images out. I just want to make sure, like, I get what you're saying, but we also need to. What I don't want to happen is that we get into this cycle of placing all the blame on like the Black community without recognizing the systemic systems that exist that are contributing to that.
Yeah.
So you just need to acknowledge both parts if you're going to make that argument.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely, Steph. Like there was this TED Talk that I was watching, and it was a white man that was basically saying like exactly what you were just putting out is like there are people putting in these same artists that are putting music about booty shaking and money getting type of stuff. It's like they're also putting out conscious words, and they are like, yeah, that's not going to work.
That's no airplay.
That's not going to happen. We're not going to put that on the radio because that's not the music that they want to actually be placed in front of the people.
I feel like if you really wanted to have
now, you're able to.
If you really wanted to have that as your message that you want to send, you were gung ho about it, you find a way. To me, it's like you're selling out because they're white people control through money. Yeah, but if you really wanted to stick to what the narrative or the message you want to put out, no amount of money is going to make you say, well, okay, well, they're not going to pay me, so I'll just resort to this.
And there's a lot of people who choose to do that. They just aren't elevated, and their platform is not given any coverage
not mainstream,
or recognized.
If it's not mainstream, you're not going to change the perception of many. Do you get what I'm saying? The only reason why people are able to actually put out conscious music now is because we have technology like YouTube, we have technology like Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, things like that.
And we have strong Black people who are
advocating
now
for
in positions of power.
You know what I mean? And allowing people to take on that role now and put out that image. It's now shifting because the people that are controlling the distribution is people that look like us, and it's like, listen, this is not only our story. Yeah, we had to go through this.
Our people need more.
Yeah, exactly.
Just this ass shaking.
It needs to continue to shift, but it reminds me of the same conversation about like why aren't Black people applying to these jobs in schools? Like, it's yes, and I get that there's a systemic kind of agenda, but at the same time, I think that we have to push, or like if people just bring these to the table, but no one's applying to be a teacher, like no one of color is applying to be a teacher, then what's the point? Like it kind of defeats the whole purpose, in my opinion.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but if like TJ, I mean, I commend every last teacher. I really do, because in the moments when I was working with students, it took I have a lot of patience. But it took a whole nother level of patience with the little pay that I had gotten. Do you get what I'm saying?
Little pay and a toxic environment, working in with microaggressions.
And now you have like this mental like an emotional battle that's going on, but you have nothing to compensate it, where you're able to be like, I can afford a vacation or a gym membership or something to have an outlet so that I can make sure I remain sane in the moments where I have all of these different personalities that I have to take on and lives that I have to manage, because there's already so much of that going on like so many different things that's going on at home. And I have to find a way to become more attuned to it and help them and help them. When I say help them, I'm not just saying like one person. We're talking about like 30 people, 20 to 30 people inside of one classroom. Like that's like no joke. And if you're not being properly compensated for that, and then you're also being treated like trash inside of the space, there are very, very few people that's going to actually want to take on a role like that.
It makes me wonder, like, what's the appeal for being a teacher then? Like, why am I really doing this? Like, I feel like maybe that's why a lot of people of color are not applying to this anymore. Because it's like, damn, I got to deal with all this bullshit.
Yeah.
We do it. We've done it because we see the benefit and the bigger, like the bigger kind of picture about like, yeah, you don't get paid a lot as a teacher, but I mean, we're saying that this is a problem and that this is a serious thing. Shouldn't that?
You also vocalize that you don't plan on being inside of the classroom for the rest of your life either. Like you as a black man in front of students of color all the time. This is, you say it all the time.
It's true.
You're not staying in the classroom.
That is true.
So what I'm trying to say, like, yes, this is important work, but what's your incentive for making this your life's work or your job, and for the long end? And I think that's what's missing.
Yeah.
I want to be conscious because I think that we're diving a little bit into like the second half of this conversation.
Okay.
So I just want to kind of like cap us at this part because it seems like we've given our reactions to the film. Word of the day.
Oh, excuse me. Lord have mercy. Man,
yes.
Bless.
The conversation still needs to happen, yo.
It's a part 2, y'all.
Part 2 is coming up.
I have a lot more to say too.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Cannot wait. But for the word of the day that I want to bring to y'all, man, it's a quote for me, not a word. And I think it's important. I think it's relevant in all that we do. But the quote is, "You cannot heal in the same environment where you got sick."
Yes. Ooh. Amen.
That's good.
You can't heal in that same place.
Oh,
man.
I just felt that. I felt that.
Yeah, I felt that. Man, you can't.
That's powerful. Like you really, really can't.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You can't. Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that, but okay. I mean, something has to shift in order for you to heal, right? Exactly. Something has to shift in your head.
So that means your environment is not the same.
I feel like the environment could be your
within.
head.
It doesn't have
to be on the outside.
Okay.
I feel like whatever it is that's making you sick, whatever it is that's like harming you has to be like shifted.
Don't be getting my attitude.
Are you bucking?
No.
Yo, he's bucking. He's bucking at me.
No, I agree, Steph. I was thinking of it more as like environment.
Physical?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, no, yeah.
You're right.
There's many facets to environment, and that I felt that's like no joke. You ain't lying. Whoever did that, whoever said that, you ain't lying.
Yo. Jerry Flowers Jr. I stay following this dude. He be dropping some gems.
Yeah.
Word.
He
Appreciate
be dropping
that.
some gems.
Shout out to Jerry Flowers. All right, that was our part 1. That was part 1 of this 2-part segment. Or series. I don't know how I should say that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just part 1 of the combo.
Yeah, but homework.
You tried it.
Yeah, homework, guys. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at the Beanstalk Podcast. Click that link in bio. You can listen to us at all your favorite platforms. Leave us some comments, likes. Let us know like what you think about this conversation about the criminalization of Black girls in schools. And also check us out on YouTube.
Yeah.
We need y'all to up engagement there. We need y'all to get to work. Get your homework done.
Comment, share, subscribe.
Yes.
No. What? No.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
I don't like it. All right, guys.
Share, subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
You name it. That's what I remember.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You name it.
No, that's
exactly what
it
was. Boy.
Okay, guys.
That was another episode of the Beanstalk. We'll come back with part 2.
Cannot wait. Yo.
Bye.
Hey!